Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. I'm joined today by my co-host Matt. Hey Matt.
Hey, Cat. Hey, everyone.
I know you have to slow down these names because I'm old now, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I have not been to Golden Corral, and I have not got to do any of the good things that people look forward to doing when they, get into the older group.
Yeah,
But,
you get a discount at the grocery store on Tuesday, don't you?
well, I've never, I will have to start frequenting the grocery store on Tuesday because
There you
I
go.
did not know that.
Yeah. Some of them do. I don't know if all of them do, but I'm sure the ones you have down there in Kentucky actually do that.
Well, they better because now that I'm old, you get to wave a cane and everything, right?
That's true, yeah.
If they don't give you your coupon discount or
Yeah.
whatever.
You can yell, "Get off my lawn" at will.
That's right. Well, I don't have a cane and I have not observed anybody on my lawn, but you know,
You,
I
you,
can dream.
you can yell at the squirrels or the you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be, real people. You can just pretend see them or anything.
There you go. I mean, just imagine.
That is the one freedom of being older is you can do whatever you want to do.
And get away
And
with
people,
it most of the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
because people just give you a pass. They're like, well, look, I mean,
Yeah.
look at that cute little old lady. She is so sweet, bless her heart.
She's feisty.
Oh, but give her that. Well, I don't know. It did not quite work out that way at my concert, but I
You didn't
just
yell at anyone or whack anyone with a cane?
I did not. But if I could have, probably I might would have.
Well,
I
so,
really just wanted to sit and cry. I thought I would burst into tears when I finally got into my seat, assigned seat, that really turned out to possibly not be my assigned seat. Thank you, Ticketmaster.
mm,
So, I mean, I don't know. It was bizarre. And it was definitely, I'm just glad that I celebrated my birthday last weekend when it really was my birthday.
so
Um,
how was Loverboy and REO?
well, I mean, I think we talked about it before when I went to Air Supply. Like, you have in your mind that people will sound the way that they sounded when you last heard them or whatever,
Sure. Yeah.
that's the expectation. And then, I mean, you have to account a little bit because in general, people don't sound the same in concert as they do, after they've done the studio recording, which is what
Yeah.
we, hear. But so even for taking that into account, it was, so I'll just say in comparison to Air Supply, I would say Air Supply is in my top spot this, of these, comparing these three bands, of seeing them live and the talent that they maintained, that I would put Air Supply as still number one.
Okay. Well, guessing that they didn't sound as you expected them?
Now, they didn't. I mean, so I'm already used to the fact, obviously, that they don't look the same as they did.
Right.
But, he's 73 years old,
He being who?
the lead singer of REO Speedwagon, who
Oh,
was
Kevin
telling
Cronin.
us
Yeah.
that he is 73 years old.
Hmm.
So, I'm sure if he could like have known me, he would say, "You don't look the same either." So, there's all of that going on. But even taking all of that into account, it just was a little bit more shocking than I expected. Like sometimes the vocals would be a little bit ahead or behind of the beat. And now Loverboy, so if I was ranking them, I would say even though Loverboy opened, I would say that they were the highlight. There was a lot more of them sounding more of the way I expected.
Well, I mean, I guess, time goes on and, REO's getting ready to retire. So, yeah, I could see where they might not be at their best.
Yeah, well, and I mean, if I in 13 years, if I was able to be up there, and on a tour schedule like they're on, I that would be a big win. So I am critical only in saying, that it's definitely, I think, an experience that you need to prepare in your mind for, because otherwise, it will not be, they will not sound the same.
Okay,
Now
well,
the Eagles, I thought the Eagles sounded great.
yeah, they did. They certainly weren't hitting all the high notes for sure, but they were pretty good.
Well, and Glenn Fry, of course, is no longer with us.
Hmm.
So when you lose people, it's that also. And so Ario has changed. So, I mean, it's just inevitable that it's going to happen.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can't imagine how many of the original members are left in REO.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought somebody said one, but
Well, there you go.
I mean, I don't know if that really is true, but
Yeah.
at any rate, it was an interesting concert, and I did see a lot of my classmates, from high school.
Yeah, cool.
So, in that way, the nostalgia was definitely there.
Hmm.
And they did play some of the songs early on that I liked.
That's
And,
because all the older people wanted to leave and go home, so,
well, I
getting
am one
late.
of those. I did leave early. And so I don't know. I don't know what it says about me. I'm trying not to think that it says like, I'm like my mind is turning old, but I it did cross my mind a lot of like, this is like a lot of hassle that I would not had if I just stayed home. So
Well, yeah, I guess, it can be a pain in the butt to, get around and, deal with all the people and all the hassles of going to a concert.
yeah, well, it's not been that long ago. Well, it's been longer, and I think it was 2018 when I went to Ed Sheeran, which there were way more people at Ed Sheeran concert. Although, I mean, not to discount the number of people, I mean, the arena was almost, I would say, sold out as well. It was well attended, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure they were really prepared for that because it it did not seem to go like a well-oiled machine. And at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, that's where I saw Ed Sheeran, lots more people and everything was a lot smoother.
Hmm.
So the whole concert experience was a lot smoother in that way. So, it's hard to know like how much of it is age and how much is just like the frustration that you have before you ever even get in the door, from the parking and the traffic and all of that stuff. And then the ticket mix up once I was there and
Right, yeah.
you know, so all that enters into your frame of mind and maybe Like, I would have laughed it off more when I was younger. I don't know. I kind of always have liked things to go, smoothly.
Right. Well,
So
well. You did it, and now you're home.
I did it. I took my videos. So, I have a few memories. Took a photo or two. I did see my classmate Leslie, and I wanted to have a picture made with her, but she was on the other side, where they're scanning to
Right.
your ticket and all that stuff. And so we couldn't, get together because of the barrier in between us. But, we said hi, so, and all that, and tried to have a conversation. So, it would have been, it was nice to see people and that kind of thing. And it's always good to revisit some songs that I still know the words to and everything. And, now I just feel like it's best to go back to listening to their music on YouTube or something, and hear how I remember it to sound.
Alrighty. Well, yeah. So moving on, what else you got going on? I know there's a couple things. You finished up Roots of the Bluegrass.
Yes, Roots of the Bluegrass had their awards ceremony on Friday night. So, it was 15 years, the 15th anniversary of Roots
Hmm.
of the Bluegrass. And, I feel like it went very well. It starts in June, like the whole process.
Right.
So it is a very time consuming, spread out piece, KTA. But, we had the founder there. Well, he really is a co founder.
Hmm.
And the other founder has passed away. But so Bill Forsyth was there, and he spoke about, how meaningful it was to see something that he started to grow and, continue 15 years later.
Mhm.
So that was really, I thought it was a good blend of the current, tying it to the past, to the roots, so to
Right.
speak. Yeah. And, congratulations to everybody that won, and, really just to everyone that entered, because it's always good, I think, to put your work out there. You never know who's going to see it, or, where it's going to take you, as you very well know. So,
Yeah. I entered a few of my plays and did pretty well, I would say.
yes.
I think I entered 5 years and won something every year, so that's pretty good, pretty good record.
Well, I'm holding out hope that your entry into the roots of the bluegrass is not forever closed. I'm hoping that always that you
Yeah,
come
we'll
back.
see.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and then what else? You have the Christmas play you're putting together. How's all that
yeah.
going?
Nutcracker Suite on December 14th and 15th. We'll also be in the I Love Christmas or I Love Santa Claus. I don't really know. I love them both. I don't know. In that parade. So that's December 7th
Are
for
you gonna
anyone
do a
that.
float?
Yes, yes, we're going to be doing a float.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so as you can imagine, a lot of things have been going on, like working on a float, trying to get, the play, all of that together, costumes, everything that's going to be involved in that.
Mhm.
Roots of the Bluegrass, a birthday, a milestone birthday, and then so it's just been a constant stream of things.
Well, now you have 6 months off from Root to the Bluegrass until the next contest starts. And I know you're working on another play. Has that started?
It only in thought.
Oh,
It
you're
has
just.
not started an official writing yet,
Oh,
but
okay.
it soon will, because it will need to be written by Christmas, and then the auditions the week after that,
Wow.
going into January. Yeah, because
When is that like scheduled to
So that'll be a Valentine's kind of show,
Oh,
you
okay.
know.
So
So it'll
February.
be
Yeah.
February, as late as we can push it in February, really, because you got weather to deal with and, all kinds of stuff possibly
Right.
in February. And so it won't be that you could only see it and appreciate it on Valentine's Day, but it will have kind of a love little theme going through it,
Yeah.
even if a funny one, just to like give the couples that want to celebrate by seeing a dinner theater experience, give them what they want. So,
Alrighty. Well, anything else?
is that not enough, Matt? How much you?
You got a few hours here and there. You could fit something else in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to sleep or anything like that. Eat.
Yeah. Well, I guess it keeps you out of the bars and,
Well, if I could have found one last night,
would have been a good night to start drinking.
I'm telling you. Well, no, nothing else really is going on. It's just that Thanksgiving is coming up, and so that means next week is our big annual
Oh,
show.
yes. Yeah. The Black Friday show that we do every year, our Black Friday episode, not show, where Kat and I, we look for things that we would recommend for people to buy for their, whoever they happen to be buying for. We just throw out a few different ideas.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we have a lot of fun with that because, we do put a lot of time in searching for just the right items.
Yeah. So do you have all of your items?
I do not because I have not had a chance, but it's not going to be concert tickets to Loverboy and REO Speedwagon. And you know why? Because I mean, there is no more.
That's right. REO is done after
Yeah,
this
yeah,
week or something.
yeah. So and I also probably would not recommend concert tickets because a lot of times, if you've noticed recently, they get canceled and
Well, that
people
and
have traveled.
the prices are ridiculous anyway. So
Yeah. So, I just say let people buy their own tickets for, I mean, maybe you want to get them some kind of gift certificate and let them pick the concert out if they want, something
there
like
you go.
that. But I've got some cool ideas already. I've been working on this periodically as I am shopping for other things and I see something and I'll just do a screenshot and be like, yes.
Yeah, I have 4 items, and they're okay. One of them's pretty good. I think you'll like it. So
Ooh, I can't wait to see what you come up with. And that is true. We don't share like the list before. So it's always interesting to see what you're going to come up with.
yep. All right. So our guest this week, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think the interview will tell a whole lot. And this is an interesting one because I got to do this one by myself and you were greatly missed.
Oh
But
yeah, I was working that day, and
yes,
we couldn't schedule it. So
we could not get it. It just happens like that sometimes. So,
yeah.
you know, it's going to be an interesting interview. Adam Thompson, actor, and he has a very unique outlook, I think, on acting as a career.
Hmm.
Like, some people have been a very similar path that they've taken, to get from point A to point B.
Hmm.
He has a little different story. So I I think that people will enjoy what he has to tell us. Now, he is promoting a new movie, and the movie actually will be out streaming tomorrow. So that's the great thing. You can listen to the podcast tonight or even tomorrow and then go ahead and stream. things will be different, is the name of it. It'll be on digital downloads and Blu-ray. But, basically, it's a brother sister, so siblings, and they're estranged, and, there's a crime, and that's really all I want to say about it. But it's, he's very interesting. I found him. So I'm gonna, I love your voice. I've always said that. And even some when we've been on podcasts or had guests, they've always said, like, you have a radio voice,
Oh, yeah,
like
of course.
they do. Well, they do.
Yeah.
They say that about you. Although we also have had the people that say they could sound like you and nobody would even know that you were like
Yeah,
not here anymore.
that's true. We have had a couple of them. We've also had a
Yes.
couple of people who said that they could do better. So,
Yes, we have had that, but I mean, obviously, we know that it's not true.
well, I'm still
But
here, so.
well, I am a very good judge of sound. So, as is evidenced by my concert review.
Yeah, there you go.
But he does have a very nice voice, so I'm just gonna say, people will enjoy like not only what he has to say, but just the voice he says it in. So,
All right. Well, we will talk to Adam here in a second, but do we want to, like, talk about the interview we did recently?
oh my gosh, it's hard not to, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think we can at least say coming up is going to be in this season, so you don't have too long to wait.
It's
Um,
going to be a couple weeks, I think, right? I don't remember what to.
yeah, because we obviously next week, we have the Black Friday episode,
Right.
and then we have like also another guest that we've already filled a slot with, but you won't have to wait too long. But so he has one one of the top 5 all-time songs, like in all the history of songs.
Oh, it was voted like top 5 of the century or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so honestly, when I say this, we have interviewed now a piece of music history.
Yeah, he's definitely way up there on that list for sure.
Well, I mean, in the top 5, like, I mean, if you're going to write a song and sing the song, and it turns out to be, after 50 years, 75 years, how many ever years,
Right.
like, as one of the top 5 best of that time period, I mean, that definitely is music history. And, we got to interview Don McLean. Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Very awesome and such an honor to get to do.
Yeah, so we will talk about that in an upcoming episode. He's going to be on. It looks like 3 weeks from tonight.
Well, it's definitely an interview to not miss. He certainly did not disappoint.
I would say that is true. He was
Yes.
very, very interesting to talk to.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that more later. It's, we just wanted to let everyone know it's coming. It's such an honor to talk to him. But getting back to tonight's episode, we're going to talk to Adam Thompson and, hear about his new movie. And
watch it tomorrow.
There you go.
Stream it. Show some love to Adam.
All right. Well, let's go talk to Adam.
Okay.
Adam, I want to welcome you to Backstory Sessions. It's really an honor to have you as our guest today.
Well, thank you so much. The honor is mine. Thanks for having me.
Well, so we have a lot of things to talk about. And things will be different. It's a new movie that we definitely want to discuss, but I'd like to get a little bit of your backstory so that we can know, what led up to your acting career. So, could you tell us just about your early life and, did you always want to be an actor or where does that come from?
No, I was born and raised in Florida. I'm fourth generation Floridian, so we're very old Florida. And I grew up just playing sports. I played baseball for many years. And when I started high school, I took a theater class that I figured would be an easy credit to take. And they ended up asking me to audition for their show. And I did, and I got the role, and it was 5 lines in this children's theater production. And I remember I almost threw up before I went on stage because I was so nervous. And once I got out there and, feeling the energy from the audience and kind of, just experiencing what being on stage is like, I was immediately hooked. So I did a lot of plays in high school, and I ended up getting into Williamstown Theater Festival, which is, this incredible theater festival up in the Berkshires. I went there for a summer, came home. I went to junior college for a couple years. And then I knew that I was going to transfer to Florida State University that has an amazing acting department. But I wasn't sure I wanted to make that my major, come in and be like, yes, I'm going to be a theater major. I'm going to be, an acting major. So I had to call the guidance counselor, before they would register me. And she said, okay, so what do you want to declare your major since you're coming in as a junior? And I said, I don't really know. I'm kind of back and forth. She's like, well, what do you like to do? And I said, well, I'm an actor. And she goes, okay, theater. And I was like, wait, hold on a second. Like, you can't just, maybe we need to discuss this. And she goes, look, dude, it's a bachelor's degree. Do what you want to do because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like, just enjoy and study something you want to study. So I ended up taking her advice and going to Florida State as a theater major originally. And then I auditioned to get into the acting conservatory. And there was only 15 people in my class in the acting conservatory. And graduated from there, moved to New York City, had a job working at a casting facility, doing like IT and studio management for this casting facility that we basically had rooms that casting directors would rent from us, and we would, run the cameras and do all the filing and all of that stuff for them. And I started getting called in on a lot of those auditions, and 99% of them were for commercials. So I started doing a ton of commercials kind of in my early career in like the late aughts, I guess we're calling it. And one thing led to another. And, a lot of those casting directors who do film, who do commercials also do film and TV. And so I started getting called in for other things because these casting directors knew me so well. And for a very long time, I did not have an agent, which was not by choice. Nobody was, banging down my door. So I ended up signing with a manager named Jane Berliner, who's with Authentic. And we just worked, her and I, for like probably a year and a half, 2 years, and ended up doing the movie with Liam Neeson called A Walk Among the Tombstones, and really kind of started getting, it started getting people's attention. And so I ended up getting an agent from that and kind of moving forward. So that's kind of how I got into it. And, TV the same way. It's just like a different muscle. And, it's what I do. It's a very odd career that I've chosen, but it's incredible. And I get to meet these incredible human beings and creatives. And I just really enjoy working with somebody else to realize their creative ideas and their visions. And that's what excites me about this whole thing. So that's really what it comes down to. That's why I do it.
So did your family or friends, when you told them this was going to be your career path, what were their thoughts?
There was a little bit of worry. from my family, but there was never any discouragement. There's only ever been encouragement. I don't come from money. My family has always worked a 9 to 5. My mom and dad always worked a 9 to 5, and they were always concerned that, I would, end up being in a really bad place financially because I had nothing to fall back on. But that really kind of went away very quickly. Even at the end of my high school career, they were extremely supportive. When I got into Williamstown, and Williamstown costs money to go, they did like yard sales and things to help me along. I took on 3 jobs, working at a restaurant, a car wash, and a limo place that I detailed the limos just to make the $3,500 that I needed to go to Williamstown. So I've always kind of looked at this job as, because, I've never been without work in my life. Like, I've always worked waiting tables, or, I've done pretty much everything you can imagine growing up. And I've been working since I was 13 years old. So I think I approach this job very much in that sense of just kind of putting your nose to the grindstone and making things happen for yourself. And I think because I was raised with that sort of work ethic, I think that that's what my parents see within me and are extremely proud and very supportive of what I do.
How important do you think it is to have a good work ethic if you're going to have a career in theater or movies?
I mean, it's of the utmost importance. There are people who show up to set and they don't really, take it seriously, or they show up an hour late. And those people tend to fizzle out a lot of times because people, time is money in this business.
Right.
And if you're there, you don't have to, you don't have to be the squeaky wheel on set in order to get the attention that you want or need. I think that when you want to have like a creative discussion, coming at it as, I'm here, I understand, I know my lines, I know what's going on in this piece, it gives you a much better foot up when having that creative conversation, as opposed to being like, oh, I read this scene this morning and I had some ideas, So I think that, everybody on set, the entire crew, they're out there sweating and they're in the rain and they're putting up lights and they're, they get there before we do, they leave after we do. And you're surrounded by people with incredible work ethic who are, managing their portion of what they do. And the least that you can do is try and match that energy and come to work and work as hard as you can at what the little section that you have control over. And that's, when you start, seeing and receiving the respect from other people, because you're out there working hard. You're not showing up late, taking long breaks or disappearing from your chair or anything like that. I think that it's absolutely necessary in this business.
So is there a lot of communication, let's say, if you're of a poor work ethic, like, are producers or directors talking to other, does the word spread that, you're just not a very good person to work with?
I mean, I don't know. The thing about this business is, that what carries a lot of weight is if you can put eyeballs on a show, if you have a quote unquote name attached to you. And so I feel like sometimes work ethic is overlooked just to get somebody of a certain status to be in your show. I've been incredibly lucky because I've worked with, a ton of A-list actors who are just hard workers and who are out there and they're on a set pretty much every day of their lives, going from movie to movie and TV show to TV show. And these people are, busting their humps every day out there. And so I've been extremely lucky. I have very few instances in which I witnessed, somebody not pulling their weight. And I don't know. I mean, it could be because those people tend to get left by the wayside after a while. But if I were privy to any of those producer director conversations, I would be in a different place in my career for sure, but I'm
Yeah.
not, unfortunately.
Well, so we ask this question a lot, and I'm always curious about it. Do you think it's good to have a plan B, or is it better if you just say, I have plan A, there is nothing else, I'm going to make it work?
That it's an interesting question. I think that you have to attack what you want in life with everything you've got. Having said that, you also need other things that make you happy and not just seeking the approval of the people within your industry. I have two children who are, two girls who are 6 and 9, and an incredible wife and an awesome puppy. And
Mhm.
they, I'm in there helping with, math homework that I barely understand, by the way, and she's in 4th grade. But I'm in there working on math homework and getting dinner ready and doing all those like family dad things, 99% of the time. So I do believe that you have to go after what you want for a career with everything you've got. But having said that, the backup plan for me has always been surrounding myself with things that make me happy and things that keep me grounded, so that like, oh, you didn't get this part even though you thought you were, because the other guy who they were going to hire was your height, but the other guy is 4'9" and you guys won't fit in the same frame together, like, all of that kind of ridiculous stuff that goes on within the industry. It's so easily kind of balanced out because, I look down at my daughter and she wants to show me something that she colored or whatever it may be. So yes and no, it would be my answer. And you have to do whatever you can to obviously support yourself and support your family. And, that's kind of the bottom line. If you aren't doing that, then maybe it's time to find something that you can do that with,
Sure.
because this business it's a tough one. There's no question. We in acting school, they used to tell us all the time, like, look, if you can do anything else, go do it, because it's brutal. And I think that as an actor and as a person working within this business, there's, 360 days out of the year, I don't really notice the toughness of the industry because I'm always just kind of looking forward and thinking like, okay, what's next? What do we do? How do we make it work? Auditions and things like that, I completely cancel out of my brain the second I send them off. It's just not even a thought because I don't have any room in my brain for it anymore. But those 5 days a year that you were really close on a job that could have changed your life, both financially and career wise, and you lose it at the last second to somebody else. Those days are extremely tough. And it reminds you like, oh, right. Yeah, this business is, not for the faint of heart, for sure. So yeah, it's an extremely tough position to put yourself in. I tell people like my job is very similar to everybody else's job. I just have a job interview like 5 times a week, and I put myself out there and it's all based on me and me alone if I get the job or not. And, with the way the industry works, you as an actor only have control over maybe 40%, say, of the audition process. So take control of that 40% and give it everything you got, but know that you gave it everything you got. You left it all in the field and you can move along and rest assured that you did everything you could to make that happen.
What was the first time you did not get the role that, really, really hurt you, I guess?
I'm I'm very lucky because, like I said, my brain has like a defense mechanism where it literally just blacks it out in certain ways. Like I remember, I was doing theater in college, and we used to do theater in this tiny little space at Florida State called the Lab. And the Lab is a thrust stage, so you have audience on the three sides of you. I did a show there that was in the round, so we had audience on all four sides. And people would say, "Oh, did you see me in the audience tonight? I was sitting in the front row." And I say, "No, like my brain has a defense mechanism where it just blacks everything out that it doesn't have the bandwidth to deal with." And just really kind of focusing on the things that matter and the things that you have control over. So I can't really put my finger on a job that didn't go my way that was like soul crushing. And I think that that's what makes it even easier to move on, because you're like, oh, that's just part of the pile of absolute rejection. And now I can concentrate on what the other thing is. And, I took a class from this acting coach named Bob Krakauer, who's a very, highly regarded acting and audition coach. And he's a former casting director. I think he might still do some casting here and there. But in his class, he told me, he's like, when you walk into that room, you're either the guy or you're not the guy. And no matter how much work you put in and like try for, getting it perfect, you're the guy or you're not the guy. And that took a lot of pressure, I think, off of me as a person in this business. I know that walking in there, I'm going to do what I do, and it's different than everybody else because everybody has their own unique way of doing it. I just go in there, present that, and leave. And if it goes my way, then I was the guy. If not, I wasn't the guy. And I think that takes an immense amount of pressure off of it. And really, like, my brain just doesn't have time to like harp on the things that I didn't get. I'll see it on TV and I'm like, oh, right, I think I auditioned for this. That's as far as it really goes. It's not like, oh, this one would have been a great one. I'm like, oh, cool. It's this other guy that I know who got it. And that's great for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's like zero animosity there because, the older you get and the longer that you're in the business, the fewer people that you're kind of surrounded by, and you know a lot of them. So I'm always happy for whoever ended up getting it because, he just had a kid or, whatever it may be. Like, that's great for him. And I really don't hold any animosity towards any other actors for that because they were the guy and I wasn't.
Have you ever been underprepared or misguided when you auditioned for something like it just totally was different than you expected it to be?
Oh yeah, plenty of times. During what we used to have was pilot season, and which before the strike, there was kind of an unlimited page count that they could hand you to have to audition with, like 18 pages of dialogue for these, series regular roles for these network shows. And sometimes you'd have 2 or 3 of those a day. So you kind of just had to like read it, memorize it, get to know what your angle is on it, go in, do it, throw it away, and then start with the next one. Like it just, so I'm sure that there were plenty of times where they were like, what the hell? Like that guy, that was like totally off base or whatever it may be, and I've, a lot of times if you do have that many auditions, you have to kind of prioritize your time and figure out which one you really want to go for and which ones you have less time to kind of put together something. And that's okay too, because nobody's expecting you to walk into that audition and be 100% memorized and off book for these things. And so it's okay to look down on the page. It doesn't take anything away from what your performance is. And either you're the guy or you're not the guy, so there's that like freedom to be able to go in and mess up if you want to. And there are certain casting directors out there that welcome you to come in and take a big swing at something, even though it might not be the right take on whatever it is, they invite creativity and want you to come in and make bold choices and do these things and really like get out of your comfort zone and do something you've never done before. And those are the most fun rooms that you can go into because you have nothing to lose. You just go in there, you know that they have your back. The challenge has been since the pandemic is this tape from home situation,
Right.
in which, you're in a vacuum. You get a little paragraph blurb as to what the character is. You get a little paragraph blurb as to what the show is. Sometimes the script is super secret and they won't send it to you, and you only get the sides, and you have to kind of make up choices based on information that you don't have. That's why I always prefer to be in a room with a casting director, because there is that creative give and take where you go in and you can make a bold choice and they can say, okay, great. I know this director. I know kind of what they're thinking. Let's just push you in this direction slightly and add this other layer to it. And that is how interesting things are made, as opposed to just being in a vacuum by yourself with a reader who, you plucked out because they had the time to help you, and put yourself on tape and send it away into the ether and hope that somebody sees it. But a redirect is so important because, casting directors are so good. They're so intimately involved with the piece, and they can help you and help divert you into the right realm and the right world for that. Casting directors have this amazing ability to be able to receive information from production, translate it for the actor, and be that in between for the creative side on the production side and the creative side on the actor side, and be able to marry both and find the right people by doing so. And I just miss them. I miss casting directors. I love casting directors, coming up and working at the casting facility and like working on the other side of the camera a lot, putting people on tape and things like that. I got to know a lot of casting directors really well. And I just love casting directors. I love their whole vibe and their aura and how they are in there and they're your creative partner. And being at home by yourself, putting things on tape just doesn't have the same energy to it anymore, And I hope we do get back to the in-person or at least Zoom auditions with people, because I do feel like it helps. Casting directors make me better. And I hope that we get back to that eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a change of everything,
Yeah.
really.
Mhm.
So, who do you look up to in the acting world? Like, do you have certain people that, just inspire you in some way?
I have always been really moved by people who are able to forget themselves in a character and leave themselves, kind of at the door and bring in something brand new. Philip Seymour Hoffman has always been kind of my North Star when it comes to that, because I feel like every single role that he ever took on, he made into something that was memorable and real. It wasn't just being out there to grab attention. It was all based in reality. Because, I mean, even Twister, like you watch Twister and you're like, man, this is an incredible cast. But I always remember Philip Seymour Hoffman in that movie, or Boogie Nights, or, whatever it may be. So I think that there's a way that he was able to, and, he was a big theater actor as well, and a big theater director. And, he started his own theater company and all of that stuff. And I think that he took a lot of that to the film industry. So Philip Seymour Hoffman is really who I want to be when I grow up, but also Frances McDormand. I want to be Frances McDormand when I grow up. I think that she has the ability to take on roles that are not, your normal everyday role, and grasp it and ground it and put out something that is utterly memorable and breathtaking. So I really do look up to both of them a lot as an actor.
Well, that brings us to Things Will Be Different. How did you get involved with this project?
So funnily enough, a lot of these people who are involved with Things Will Be Different, like Aaron Moorhead and Michael Felker and Krista Dorson, Shane Spiegel, the list goes on, all went to Florida State, believe it or not. And Aaron Moorhead and I went to Florida State at the same time, whereas everybody else is younger than us and was there much later. But it didn't actually come through that. Chrissy Fiorelli Ellington, who is the casting director, I have known since I used to work at the casting facility. She is one of those casting directors that who just loves actors and wants to get involved, and who kind of remembers the people who kind of left it all in the field. And she has a really wide breadth of knowledge when it comes to performers. So she initially sent it to my team, and I read it. And one of my bucket list items in my career was that I wanted to be number one on the call sheet for a film. And it came down to testing myself. Can I do this? Can I make an audience care for long enough to sit through a movie? And it was really a leap of faith when it came to that, because I had never been in that position before. And so I read the script and I loved it. I didn't fully understand it the first time I read it. And then I read it again, and I read it again, and I read it again, and ended up putting myself on tape for it. And then had a Zoom meeting with Michael Felker and Shane Spiegel, who are the Michael Felker's the writer, director, and co-producer, and Shane's the other producer, and Chrissy, the casting director. And we had a Zoom session and we read through the scenes, but also we just kind of hung out and felt each other out. And I feel like we're just kind of cut from the same cloth in a lot of ways. And so I knew instantly that if we do this together, if they end up deciding to give me this opportunity, I think that we can make something really cool and interesting together. And then they found me, they hired me, and they hired Riley Dandy, who plays my sister, who is truly my sister in life. I don't know how, we must have been separated at birth somehow, but she's, doing this with her on top of everything else was just icing on the cake. She brought so much to that role and really helped me performance wise to be able to just lose myself within her a lot in these scenes. So I was extremely happy when they decided to offer me the opportunity to be number one on the call sheet and to take on that challenge. And really glad they did, because I'm extremely proud of the film and what we were able to do with what we had,
Do you have siblings of your own?
I do. I have an older brother who's an attorney, and we're best friends. I had to tell him, dude, I gotta go because I'm doing this podcast. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I just wanted to talk to you about daylight savings time. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, we're extremely close. We talk every day, multiple times a day sometimes. And that was one thing that really struck me when reading the script, is this, sibling relationship as opposed to a romantic relationship was interesting. We don't really get to see that a lot with adults in films. A man and a woman are typically love interests or former love interests or whatever it may be, but to see a truly, just a platonic sibling relationship. And I knew what that was. I know what it is to love somebody so deeply, and that they're your best friend and sometimes your worst enemy, and all of those things, and how it's all tied up together. I just understood the Joe and Sydney relationship, and I understood Joe on a lot of different levels. So yeah, my brother was very much, whether he knows it or not, was a huge part of being able to get there with a lot of these ideas and thoughts. So yeah, he's extremely important to me.
So, what was the filming experience like? Was it good conditions, tough physically?
I mean,
Uh,
it was extremely tough when it came to exterior forces. We as a group, our crew was incredible. We had this small crew of people that were kind of local in that area. We shot in Indiana. Some of them were like from Michigan and the Chicago area and all, the surrounding places. And I don't know how they did it, but they collected a group of the most incredible human beings who were out there fighting and, getting like every day, just putting things together and making it work and being happy. And, the joy within the filmmaking process was amazing. On day one of shooting, I tested positive for COVID and had to quarantine at that point, due to the SAG bylaws. So I went away for 5 to 7 days in a hotel room by myself, which was extremely frustrating for me, but also obviously for production. And that was tough. But at the same time, the silver lining was when I did come back, I was even more ready to take on that role of Joe after being isolated. And I feel like a lot of Joe's emotions come from isolation. So that really prepared me to go into it. So, everything happens for a reason. We had an ice storm that hit us. We lost power for 3.5 days that we were shooting
wow.
the movie on pull start generators that were outside. We were freezing, all of those things. We had to get a waiver to shoot during the SAG strike. There was a lot of like external, forces that were trying to take us down. And I think that it just made us all even sharper and better. And I welcome external forces like the cold or the heat or whatever it may be, because it gives you something to push against. And, I think that comfort isn't always interesting. I think that the most interesting and creative places are when you're pushed out of your comfort zone. So I welcome all of that stuff, but somehow we still finished the movie and we finished it the way we wanted to, even though the world was trying to take us down, but we didn't let it. We just kept on plowing through.
Is there a favorite moment or one that sticks out more to you than any other?
There was a moment that really does like stick out to me. There's a staircase in the house that we shot in. And, we had been fighting the external elements for a few days at this point. It was during the winter shoot because we shot half the movie in the winter and half the movie in the summer. And I remember standing up on like the landing, waiting for lighting to be set up and things like that, and looking down at the hustle and bustle of our incredible, talented crew that were all helping each other. They were all putting things together. They were, so diligent and happy, and everybody was just happy to be there. But also they felt like they were working, like everybody treated this film like it was their own film. And I remember kind of looking down because I was, up on a landing and just observing it kind of from a bird's eye view and seeing everybody out there and just having like, it just made my heart smile. And I thought to myself, like, wow, like remember this, because this doesn't always happen.
Right.
This is special. And I think as a crew, we all felt like we won no matter what. Once we got through the film and it was what we wanted it to be, and everybody did such a beautiful job working on the film, that when we finished it, we're like, okay, we won. Like we won the prize already. And then when we got into South by Southwest, we're like, wow, that's incredible. Like, that's really cool. I'm so glad that we're going to have like a big release. That's cool. And then, Magnolia and Magnet ended up, taking on US distribution. We're like, wow, like for me, Magnolia and Magnet are like their movies and the things that they put out are some of my favorite movies. So I was really excited by that. And so every step of the way, we're like, oh my God, like everything was just so unexpected because we're like, whoa, we already won. We finished the movie. Like we shot it. Everything was wonderful. Like we had a really great time and made, lifelong friends and all of that stuff. That everything that's happened that's been amazing for the film has just felt like, again, like icing on the cake. We're like, wow, this is incredible. Like people really do recognize that the film has something to say and are responding to it. And I think that was such a nice feeling because we felt like we had done something interesting and cool. And to see the response being that we did make something interesting and cool, it just really made us feel like we were like like it was all kismet with everything and how it happened,
Wow.
the good and the bad.
Yeah. Well, what is next for you?
So right now, I've been doing some some episodic stuff here and there to help pay the bills and to go and work with different groups and enjoy walking onto these other sets. It's been a little wonky since COVID and the strike, and I think that a lot of people are feeling it within the industry, that it's just not the same industry that we had in 2019 before the world shut down.
Right.
And I think a lot of people in all different, walks of life and all different careers feel the same way. I'm hoping that in 2025, we get to rebalance things out and move forward. I have been, much to my team's dismay, I've been a little bit pickier when it comes to indie film things because I was kind of spoiled with this whole film and making the film. And I think that it struck me in the moment that I knew that this film was interesting and it was going to be a really cool, a completed project. And that feeling that I felt, I'm looking for again. So there have been things that I have passed on in the past year, and that's okay. It just wasn't for me specifically. But I look forward to kind of this creative revolution that I do believe is we are on the brink of, that I welcome interesting new projects that I do believe will be starting to get funding as the year goes on. So right now I'm enjoying the process of talking about the film. I never get tired of it. And then we'll see what's next.
Do you have any aspirations for writing or directing or any, or is it just acting?
I really look up to both writers and directors. The good directors are really great CEOs, are great decision makers and creative partners and all of that. And I don't know if I would be able to like make a decision on like which of these hammers do you want to use in this scene, which I don't know if I would have the bandwidth for all of that. And I have been doing a bit of writing, but to me writing is extremely hard because once you get something written and then the next day you go back and read it and you're like, what is this? This is awful. that kind of like self-judgment and that's really tough for me to deal with. Like I said, like in the moment between action and cut, a lot of times I just like black out everything that wasn't useful for me in that moment, and I can just look at the director, and if I truly trust the director, and I've been lucky enough to work with some incredible directors, that they can say, yeah, that was great. We got it. Let's move on. And you're like, okay, cool. You're making the decision. I'm just here wearing the clothes that somebody told me to wear, saying the words that somebody told me to say, and standing where somebody told me to stand. So, as long as I got all that right, that's great. Let's move on, So I do think that down the line, it will be more of an option for me. But for right now, I really love helping somebody realize a creative vision, Like that to me is like, it's like a drug. You see, even in an audition room, if you're in there with a director and you just see them lean forward in the middle of your audition, that feeling to me is such a great feeling because I'm like, okay, you're responding to something creatively. And I think that is all like, that's what I'm here to provide in a way. But I won't rule it out. Let's say that.
Okay, fair enough. So our time is running out, but I would like, for actors out there or young people that are maybe on the path that you were, undecided about, like, can this be a career? Should I pursue this? What advice do you have?
I think the most difficult part about this industry is that the only way that you can really make sense of it is to compare yourself to others and compare your career to other people's careers. I would say that if you are going to take on this path in this industry, I think that there is room for all shapes and sizes, all levels of whether it's classical or contemporary or any of those things. There's room for a lot of interpretations. I know it's the most difficult thing in the world to do, but try to not compare yourself to other people. A lot of times what I think is, how would, you know, 2023 Adam feel about where we are right now? And it's like, right. 2023 Adam was like, I want to do a movie. I want to be number one on the call sheet. And it's like, okay, 2024 Adam, we did that. And so I kind of look at it in that way where it's like, is there growth? Are you making yourself happy? Are you making these decisions to help you have a career that you're proud of and that you can build upon? It's not always a staircase. I tell people a lot of times, like, I feel like I'm on a stepping stone and I look around and there's 1,000 stepping stones around me. And I think, okay, where do I go here? What do I do now? And I think that once those stepping stones start, kind of going away and becoming more of a staircase, it's just because you've put in the work and you're working towards something. There's this term called Tarzaning. Have you ever heard of this term?
I haven't. No.
So Tarzaning is essentially moving, from point A to point B by swinging on vines, right?
Right.
And some of those vines that you grab onto are going to swing the wrong way. So that's okay. It's okay if it's not a straight line, because you're just going to grab the next vine and that vine might move you forward, or, whatever it may be. So I the idea that, like, I do my under five and then I do my co-star, and then I do my guest star, and then I do my recur, and then I become a series regular. It's not always laid out that way. And I've been lucky to be mentored by a lot of really amazing actors who have walked a similar path as me and who are, very well regarded people. So it's just kind of a stick with it, keep doing it, keep growing, keep meeting interesting new people, and, it'll figure itself out. But there's nothing about this job in this industry that is a straight line. So give yourself the grace to know that you are moving forward, even though it might be by inches at times,
That's good advice, because I'm sure that everyone will encounter that multiple times
Oh, yeah.
along the journey. So, well, it has been fascinating to hear about your career and your backstory, and it seems like you have a really good perspective on
I try.
everything. Yeah. Well, I feel like that, there's going to be many opportunities for us to have you come back and,
Absolutely.
you tell us about the growth that, the vines that you have ended up on as you go forward. So thank you once again for leaving your brother to like come be a guest on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I really had a good time. Thank you.
All right. Well, have a good evening and we will look forward to talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.